Hi, and welcome to this free mini course of the butterfly design. I'm so excited for you guys to try this out, and this will just give you a little glimpse of what my online courses are like. And as you progress through the course, you'll see that first I start with drawing on paper and talking about the design and how to create it, and we also practice on a whiteboard. So we talk about how to blend the rows and how to fill the spaces nice and evenly. And after that video, then there will be PDFs that you can print out and trace and practice. And the next video will be quilting on the long arm. So as I do the quilting on the long arm, I will stop and talk about maybe a problem area or just things that might come up as you're quilting along and how to just fill that space. And you can use anything that you want to practice on. I'll be using a plain fabric, but you might have charity quilts or maybe fabric that you've had for ages that you just need to use up, and it would be great for practice. So I really hope that you enjoy the videos. I've gotten great feedback from my students, and it's wonderful to see their progress. And if you do decide to purchase one of my online courses, then you'll have the opportunity to join our Facebook group. And when you do that, you can share pictures, you can ask questions, and it is a great support system. And everyone's been so wonderful. I'm just so thankful to see you guys progressing and sharing on the Facebook pages. I hope that you find that these videos in this online course is very easy to follow and relaxing, and I really do want to just relieve some of that stress from free motion quilting and really help you enjoy what you're doing and to help you reach your goals. All right, we're ready to sketch out this butterfly design. And first I just want to go over the structure of the butterfly. So whenever we're quilting, we're going to have a straight line, then we're doing a large bump and a smaller bump following the body, large bump, smaller bump, and exiting out the top. So same thing here. If we're going to the right, we have large, small, large, small, and going down. And you can do these as big or little as you would like. So we've got one going up, right, down, and left. And they all do not have to be the same size. You can vary your sizes if you'd like. You can do small little butterflies or large butterflies. Completely up to you, whatever you feel comfortable doing. And it's okay to vary the size too. You may have a little bit smaller ones and a little bit bigger ones throughout your design. We're ready to fill in this whole page with the butterfly design, and we're going to be doing loops and butterflies. And this page I'm going to start up in this corner, and we'll fill in the whole sheet of paper, and then I'll do another sheet and we'll start on the left-hand side. Adding the loops along with the butterflies is a way to help you travel. If we just did solid butterflies, it would be pretty hard to travel around and fill out the space. So adding the loops is a great way to travel. So we're going to point this butterfly in this direction. Larger bump, smaller bump, larger, smaller. Large, small, large, small. And it is a good idea to change the direction of your butterflies as you go along so that they're not all pointing straight up and down or all pointing to the right. It's a good idea to vary the direction. This is a pretty small space, but it is great for practicing how to travel and the design of your butterfly. So here's our first page filled in. And we'll go ahead and do one more on paper, starting on the left. I am using a few pieces of tape to hold my paper down so that it's not sliding around on me. And I'll go ahead and start up in this corner. Again with our loops. Now I'm going to stop here and talk about where to come out of the butterfly. Normally I do like to come out this top part, but if you're in a space like this and you just have this little bit of quilt left to fill in over here, there's no reason you can't stop right there, come right back out, and continue your loops. Because it would be easier to do that to fill in this space than to come around here and have to go in and back out. So this is a great option for when you're traveling around your quilt. You don't have to come out the front. You can come out the back if it's going to create an easier path to fill in. Go up on this one. Another tip I like to give is it's a great idea to practice with pencil because pencil will give some drag. And some people do like practicing with pencil and paper better than the whiteboard. But the whiteboard is nice because you can just practice, erase, and practice again and not use up a lot of paper. But if you have a notebook or something you can take with you and maybe work on your lunch break or waiting at an appointment, then it's great to have a bit of paper and pencil that you can sit and doodle. So again, here we have another sheet filled in with the butterflies. And something I like to remind my students and tell my students is that we are free motion quilting. Each butterfly is not going to be exact. They're not going to be perfect, but our goal is to repeat the same basic shape each time that we're doing our butterflies. And when you step back and look at that finished quilting design, you're just going to see butterflies. You're not going to see a little wobble or bobble here and there. So try to give yourself some grace, and especially when you're learning a new design, don't, drive yourself crazy trying for perfection. All right, we're going to go ahead and fill this space on the whiteboard. And if you get a big whiteboard, it is nice because you have more room to really fill a bigger space. And depending on the size of your machine, some people only have a 10-inch space. Some people might have a 20-inch space. So we're going to pretend that we can only quilt this far. So our quilting space is up here. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to blend your first row to your second row, and so on and so forth until you finish the quilt. Because what we don't want is to stop all of our quilting right on this line, or we'll end up with either a line or some bubbles on the back of your quilt. So I'm going to start up here. And one thing you'll notice with the whiteboard is that it is very slippery. And even I can tell right now that it's a different feel than the paper. And it's going to take me a second to get used to the slippy slidiness of the whiteboard. So what we want to do along this bottom part is leave some areas unquilted that would come up into our previous design up here. So I'm going to leave a bit of space there. And we'll keep filling in up here. And I am thinking about pointing the butterfly. I'll do a little arrow right there. When I came down, I wanted to be able to have my butterfly going this direction, and I know that when I'm done, I can exit out between the two larger wings. So I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. I'm going to point this one down here. Now, in this scenario, I'm going to just bump right back out this way, because if not, this might be a little too cluttered. So don't be afraid to bounce out that back way if you need to. Those loops make it look like they're just flying all around. And you can see mine aren't perfect either. I'm just repeating that shape of our butterfly. And I'm going to stop right there. Now, whenever we come back to do our next row, we're going to fill in these little empty spaces that we left. And that will help blend our rows if you think about blending the top with the bottom. And for this one, since I stopped clear over here, I would advance my quilt but leave my needle in. And let me get on camera here. So I would just have left my needle in on this side, and I've advanced my quilt and I'm ready to do this next row. So we will continue with more butterflies. And one more thing as I'm thinking about it, when you do the wings, you do not need to come in and touch the center. That just, to me, doesn't look as nice. It kind of clutters up our butterfly. So come in, but you don't need to touch that center body part. And for this bottom row, I'm just going to pretend that this is our last row and I'm filling in clear to the edge. And on this one, I'm going to come right back out this way. come on up in this area, and it's going to blend real nice. So don't be afraid to come back out that back direction if you need to. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Filling in, trying not to leave any real wide open spaces, and filling in as evenly as we can. All right, so there is our whiteboard. And just so you have an idea, I've got my ruler here, and this butterfly is about 2.5 inches long, and that one's about 2.5 as well. This one down here is only about 2 inches, if that. So you can see that my sizes do vary a little bit. That one's 2 3/4. And another one up here is a little over 2 inches. So I think varying the size makes it look great, because if you're trying to match the exact size with every butterfly, that's just going to add way too much stress to your quilting. And we want to eliminate any unnecessary stress. So don't worry about them all being the same size. And it's even better if some are a little smaller and some are a little bigger. Now, if you added in a really teeny tiny butterfly, like, oops, that's my permanent marker. Like you thought you could squeeze one in here real tiny, I don't think that's going to look as nice, and that's going to stand out a little bit. But in general, don't worry about them all being the same size, and they can vary in size, and it makes it look even better. So on to the machine. Here's my fabric all loaded and ready to start quilting. And I have basted along the edge the whole way around. And usually when I do this, I baste the whole way over here and I'm ready to start. I just leave my needle in right there and I start quilting. So a lot of times on the videos when I'm drawing, I do start from the right hand side only because that's usually where I end up after basting. And my machine prefers to go from left to right when I'm doing a straight line. And that's the reason I baste from left to right. But I am going to be starting my design right here, and we'll be filling in this row, leaving those spaces for the next row. And I'll be quilting in constant mode. If you have a regulator, you're welcome to use that. I prefer constant mode. And right now my regulator isn't working, but I'm so used to constant, it's my preferred way to quilt. So here we go with our loops and butterflies. right here. I'm going to come right back out this way. Something else I want to talk about as we go along is I'm using a dark thread on a light fabric, and I'm doing that so that you can see the design really well. But if I was doing this on a customer quilt, I would most likely be matching my thread to the quilt, and that way it'll hide your little baubles. That very first butterfly that I did, which I'll go back and show at the end, it wasn't perfect. I mean, none of these are perfect, but when you use a light thread on, or a matching thread to your quilt, it will hide a lot of those little imperfections. If you can see here how I'm directing my butterflies, this one I wanted the head part that would be down this way. So I came up and now I'm pointing my butterfly in this direction. And I'm gonna come right back out this bottom part. All right, here's our first completed row. And you can see on this first one, I didn't retrace this center part real well, but that's okay. It still looks like a butterfly. You can see even up here, I didn't have an exact retrace. Don't be so hard on yourselves, and you'll get better as you go. And you can even see on mine, I got better at my retracing on the centers as I went along on this row. Work on those drawings for a little bit, and then don't be afraid to move on to quilting on the fabric. If you ever get a little pucker on the edge where you basted, don't be afraid to just take that out, smooth it out, and I'm going to do one little loop here, connect to this edge, and baste down the side. And I do have a basting stitch on my machine, and I can set it to what length I want. Now I'm going to tie off right here and baste down my other side. And what you can do is, and what I would do in this situation was start at the bottom, baste up to this point and keep quilting, but I'd like to start this row on the left, so I'm just going to baste down this side, and we'll start back on the left hand side to quilt. And I do think it's best to practice your designs going left and right. And that will really help you when you get to borders too. We're ready to fill in this next row. once you get in a rhythm with this butterfly design, it is so much fun. And you could always add other things to this design if you decide to purchase the Build Your Portfolio series. We learn how to do many different kinds of flowers and leaves and curls, and so many of those would look great with this butterfly. All right, our second row is complete. And when we step back and look, there's no definite line as to where our first row was and where we connected our second row. And if I point it out to you here, we came up into this space, down and up into this space. So make sure you're leaving those areas for your next row to fill in so that we don't have any of those lines. And just like down here, I left some space and I just have a little bit left. I'll advance this quilt and finish out the rest of the fabric. Now it's up to you whether you want to take these pins out and baste along this bottom edge, or if it's a more open design like I'm doing now, I would just leave this and get close to but not hit this leader or my pins. And in the courses, I do go over a lot of things like that, showing how to baste along the edge, showing different options for lighting, different tips for how to get those unwanted dark threads out from under your fabric. So many great tips on making your quilt look great. So right here, instead of going out the top, I'll go out this side because I don't need to come out here. I already have that area filled in. as you can tell, as I'm going along, I am trying to turn my butterflies in different directions. So I hope as I'm quilting, you can see how to point them in the direction that you want, and that they're not all going up and down or side to side. I've got some at angles and all different directions. And again, with the loops, if you get stuck, you can, you know, squeeze in there with a little loop if you need to, and no worries and stress free. Here's that final row completed. And remember, it's not about perfection. I've got a few that are off. I've got some retracing that's not perfect. But when you step back and look, I just love this. And this is not a design I ever offered to my customers. I had never done this before except for on borders a few times, maybe 2 different times, and I did do a few butterflies on customer quilts when I put a few butterflies in with flowers and leaves. But I absolutely love this. I think it is a great edge to edge all over design that would be just so cute on a little girl quilt or a flowery garden quilt. You can make it even more whimsical by adding curls. I just love this, and I hope you do too. And just don't get stuck practicing on paper. Once you've got that design down in your head as far as the process of creating your butterflies, then go ahead and put some practice fabric on and give it a try.